So I am talking to Donna Gates, who is the author of the Body Ecology Diet and website, where she looks at healthy digestion and maintaining healthy bacteria in the gut, among other things. So Donna, why is digestion so important for a healthy system overall?
I think forever, people have said, even way back in the 20s when the old timers were talking about health, they always said that disease begins in the colon. And actually the truth is that health begins in the whole entire digestive tract. So it's not just the colon, it's the small intestine, what's happening in your stomach. And then the whole digestive tract is connected to our brain. So very much, we really have one giant brain in our body, and there's a bunch of brain cells up in our head, and then a lot more brain cells down in our gut. And there are all these nerves that are running through our body. That's what really comprises our brain. And so the gut brain, whole digestive tract, is a very important part of everything that happens in our body. I've gotten to the point now where I think everything is controlled by our brain, and I mean that big brain, that whole brain. And our hormones, it's like we're completely controlled by them. So you need to have healthy hormones and healthy brains in your body.
Uh-huh. I think that's interesting. Not many people realize that there's intelligence in the gut and kind of a second brain.
Yes. Not just there's an entire enormous network of nerves and neurons and so on in the gut. And then, of course, what I've been teaching about for years is the importance of eating fermented foods, and then you're bringing a whole bunch of healthy bacteria into that world, and then they're very intelligent. They can actually communicate to that gut wall and send signals and receive information. The work I do seems so simple, but it's profound, and it's you can experience that when you start adding fermented foods to your diet, when you clean up your gut and eat foods that are properly digested. You don't have all those toxins inside of you. You will have a profound shift in your health.
Mm-hmm. So what are the three, say, most important dietary changes that you recommend people make in order to optimize their digestion?
Well, this world that we've been living in for a long time has had really bad fats and oils, vegetable oil, canola oil. A lot of people think canola oil is healthy, but it's refined too. It's a genetically modified oil, so it's on the don't eat list. But if you would just change the oils and fats that you're eating to the healthy ones that we recommend, and that's huge. That's an enormous step, easy to do, really. And then the second thing is, I'd say start cutting down on the amount of sugar in your diet until you can cut it out altogether. And then the third thing is to eat fermented foods, because they actually help you metabolize those good, healthy fats that you'll be eating, and they're sour, and so they take away your desire for sugar. So if you say to somebody, cut down on the sugar, the first thing that probably is popping into their head is, I don't know if I can do that. I like sugar. But if you lose the desire for it, then it's very easy to give it up. I never eat sugar, and I have no desire for it ever. If I see it, it just usually isn't something that looks unappealing to me, like a muffin or a cake, cookie. They just look like they're made of flour, and to me, they're just practically as appealing as eating cardboard. And that's what happens to your brain when it starts to shift, and you get all these healthy foods in your body. You don't even want the bad stuff, and that's important because you got to start somewhere. And the place to start is by eating the healthy foods, and just don't worry about getting rid of the bad things. They just kind of fall away naturally, I think.
Right. So in terms of healthy foods, you're talking lots of fresh vegetables, and what about fruits? I would have no problem giving up sugar. I barely eat any at all, but fruit would probably kill me.
Well, there's some fruits obviously that are way better than others. Like all the sour fruits, the blueberries, raspberries, strawberries, so all the berries, cherries, grapefruit, not oranges. They're really, really sweet, so you gotta be careful with oranges. But stick with what's lemons, limes, kiwi, grapefruit. Stick with the ones that are very sour because they have less sugar in them. Then the other thing that we're really big on, of course, is we eat the fermented foods and we drink fermented liquids. So you're bringing good, healthy bacteria into your body, and then they eat that little bit of sugar up in that sweet. I mean, blueberries aren't very sweet, but They have a little bit of sugar in them, just enough to feed the microbiota in your gut, and then they grow and flourish inside of you, and that's perfect. That's exactly what nature intended. But if you're eating really sweet, fruits like bananas, for example, everyone loves those. They're extremely sweet, and in this day and age, most everybody has a systemic yeast infection in the body. That's where the problem comes in, because sweet fruits make us very acidic. We already are acidic, and the yeast grow inside of our body. It's a very serious condition that just people, even doctors, don't really understand the seriousness of having a yeast infection in the body. So we on our diet, the Body Ecology diet, we're moving people away from sugar, but putting all the healthy, good bacteria into the digestive tract, and it just starts working. Everything just starts all working together.
What are some of the easiest fermented foods for people to start with?
Well, fortunately, years ago, I invented a drink called Young Coconut Kefir by just taking coconut water, which is really, really full of sugar. Not good for you to eat it just straight like people are doing it. And I fermented it and created Young Coconut Kefir. That drink has actually made its way all over the world, everywhere. People are drinking it. Tens of thousands of people drink it. So naturally, fortunately, there are several companies producing. You can go into a store and you can buy the cocoa kefir. Inner Echo is another brand. Tonics is in California. You can fortunately buy that drink now, and that's a great one. It's very, very special the way it cleans heavy metals out of the body. It's a wonderful cleansing food, but it also brings great bacteria into the intestines. So that's an easy thing to do. We also sell probiotic liquids on our site that are very easy to, just take 2 or 3 ounces a day of that. That's going to bring a huge amount of very, very hardy bacteria into the digestive tract. The bacteria in there were grown on grains and seeds and nuts and beans, for example, and we bring them in and we grow this culture, so they're real hardy because they came right out of the fields, right on the plants. They're hardier than this. You can go in the store and buy a probiotic supplement, but these are more powerful, they're going to do more in the body. They're more healing in that sense. Then if you take a supplement, they're going to work better if you're having these probiotic foods. So I'd start with the liquids, but we have been teaching for years how to take vegetables and shred them up and pack them in a jar and let those ferment. If you take a Sunday afternoon and do that, you'll have them for months and months to come, so they're really a fast food.
And what about for people who have just absolutely no time at all? I know that it's really important, the strains of bacteria that get into the fermented foods, but what about if they're buying fermented foods? Are those okay? What should they look for?
They're okay. They're okay. You can save usually half as much money to make them yourself. You can certainly control the taste. Like, for example, I think my own cultured vegetables taste the best. And so even if I buy, say, Gold Mine, for example, it makes a real traditional sauerkraut that's really a nice product. Rejuvenative Foods makes a couple of different choices, but in California, actually, there's more and more people do it. I think on the East Coast too, I'm seeing more companies now beginning to produce them. You can order them online, but they're still relatively hard to purchase. So people need to learn to make them, and it's fun. Like if you got 3 friends together and you took a Sunday afternoon and got your food processors out and brought over a bunch of cabbage, you could put up 18, 20 jars. Everybody could walk home with 6 or 8 jars, and you'd have them for weeks to come. So it's well worth it for what they do in your body. It is well worth it to do that.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And you talk a lot about keeping your body in balance and keeping the bacteria in your gut in a good balance. What can people look for in terms of signs or symptoms that they might be out of balance?
Oh, that's the problem, is everything. I mean, it's very elusive because there's not a few signs. There's many different types of signs. Each of us were born with genes that there's certain weaknesses that we have in certain areas of the body. Like some of us might have more of a problem in our nervous system, and so your problems can show up in more neurological ways, like depression and nervousness and anxiety, or even more severe problems like schizophrenia. OCD, Tourette syndrome, and so on. Other people, they might have more problems with blood sugar in their body, so they'll have insulin resistance or diabetes developing as they get older. And when you're young, actually, you almost can't see, how what's going on in your body, because there's a lot of vitality that comes in with the person, prenatal gene, we call it, that constitutional energy that they inherit. And so young people can actually abuse their body and get away with it. But as you get older, particularly by the 30s, the 40s for sure, 50s, 60s, and so on, you are beginning to pay heavily for not taking care of your body when you were young. I have this new book on aging. It was written for baby boomers, but I'm hoping that a lot of people in their 20s and 30s read what's in there, because that's the time to start preventing aging. Start young, preventing all these things. But you can have hormone imbalances. There's not a single part of your body that can start everywhere. Problems. Hormone imbalances is a huge one. But it's all tied together. So it's sort of like the whole entire body is beginning to, constipation, fatigue. Fatigue is a huge one. Most people just wake up and they don't feel like they have enough energy to make it through the day. So that's all changeable, just with diet and exercise and taking a lot of the stress out of your life, getting a really good night's sleep, getting enough vitamin D in your body. It's amazing how happy the body becomes when you do that, and how well it responds, how quickly it responds to simple changes like that.
Yeah, diet can be so powerful. Have you found that all of those different imbalances are helped by the kind of diet that you recommend?
Everything. I wrote the book, the first book, The Body Ecology Diet, about 18 years ago, so maybe longer. But I put it out there for people with candidiasis, because that was what I struggled with. And in my journey to overcome it, I was sharing what worked. But people started writing back right away saying, oh, my Parkinson's disappeared, my depression lifted up, my hormones are balanced, my skin's cleared up. And then, of course, over the years, I kept developing, evolving body ecology and understanding much more about health myself. And I realized that what we've laid out for people is just a foundation, a very, very important foundation that must be in place for everything else you're doing to work. That's what's wrong. With people, they're spending a fortune on all kinds of supplements, and they're all good supplements. They can do, the research shows that they do this or they do that, but if you don't have that foundation in place, you will never benefit really from those supplements, and you're wasting your money. That's what I'm trying to teach people, is the very, very basic foundation, and then you can go from there and tweak that, add to the foundation.
Now, you mentioned supplements. Sometimes diet alone isn't enough to bring someone back from an imbalance. What kind of supplements do you see in terms of maybe herbals? We mentioned probiotics, nutrients. Do you recommend anything like that, or do you think that they're
I think that, again, the basic supplements to create that foundation are, so the first thing you have to do is create energy. Absolutely, positively. That's where many people are stuck. They don't have enough energy to heal or to get their hormones balanced or clear up their skin or digest their food properly, even go to the bathroom. And so many people are constipated, but if they just improve the energy in their body, everything will start working. So the first and best and most important supplements are those that create more energy in the body. Now, there's a lot of those. It's like, the creator must have realized we need a lot of energy-producing herbs. There's just ashwagandha. There's a ton of them in Chinese medicine. I think the ancient Chinese wisdom is amazing, because they really understood this need to create energy in the body. So their whole system is based on tonifying the adrenals and bringing energy in the body. And then, of course, the thyroid. The thyroid, if you have a systemic yeast infection in your body, which most people do today, almost everyone does, it suppresses the thyroid. It does many, many things in the body that are really harmful to us, but it also suppresses the T4. So you're going to be deficient in thyroid hormones. And that thyroid is the other organ that's so very important for having enough energy in the body. So getting your yeast infection under control and creating that foundation that I was talking about is really a must, because even the best of the best supplements won't work until you do that, because you're fighting an enemy in the body that is undoing it. You're doing all these good things, and the enemy's coming along and undoing them faster than you can do them. So, got to bring that yeast infection under control, which we do a great job teaching people how to do that. Then the supplements are the ones that create energy. And then the ones that help you digest your food are very, very critical, because that creates energy too. When you have properly digested your food, then that breaks down, gets into the cells, and that's what creates energy. You know, that eventually all food breaks down into glucose. That glucose goes into the cells and creates energy. And you got to digest that food. And so many people just aren't digesting their foods anymore.
And it's a great way of looking at health, is creating energy and making sure that we're digesting our food properly.
Yeah, and there's some people, they really need to, everybody actually really needs to take a serious look at what they're doing with their energy. Are you conserving it? Like if you had, most people are pretty good about money. You know, they're watching where they're spending it. They like to save it. What we're doing is today is we're using up our energy, and kind of it's the same thing like running up a lot of money on your debt on your credit card. We're using all this energy, and we're depleting our core energy that we were born with. So I always like for people to understand energy like money. You need to save it and have a nice big chunk of it there, always a reserve of it in case you need it. So creating energy is just absolutely vital to do that. That's like a whole conversation in itself. But a lot of us are wasting our energy, you know, by like staying up late at night and watching these really good TV shows that are exciting, and, you know, like people get killed on them, and they're exciting, or you wouldn't be watching them. And so you go to bed, you turn them off, you think you're going to go to sleep and go to, you know, sleep deeply, but you won't, because your cortisol is up. During the night when you're sleeping, you're processing a lot of the things that happen to you during the day. You do not sleep deeply and well if that's what you're doing at the end of the day. Are you checking your emails at the very end of the day? Just one more little couple of emails, you know, like another 10 more minutes, and get a few more emails sent out before you go to bed. All that light shining into your eyes is keeping you from making melatonin so that you sleep deeply. You know, there's a lot of different ways that we're just wasting energy, and everybody needs to do sort of like a checklist of where is my energy going? What am I doing? Are you in a bad relationship? Do you hate your job? Are you taking care of your kids all the time and never taking care of yourself? Just, you know, there's a lot of ways to get rid of the stuff that's not working and put in, you know, the things that create more energy. And it's essential to do that. That is such a foundational step to wellness, that everything else you're doing, all the money you're spending on all these other stuff, isn't going to work unless you create that foundation of energy. But, you know, to do that, energy is priceless. In other words,
some great thoughts, Donna. Thank you so much for sharing, and thank you so much for taking the time to chat with me today. I really appreciate it.
Oh, I'm really happy to do it, Heather. I appreciate you calling and asking me to do it, and I love to teach, so anytime.